My name is Dan Lopez. I am the Lambda Literary ambassador for this event. Lambda Literary, as you might know, puts on this festival. Of course, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but really it's these three up here who put on this whole event, promoted it, got all the food, got all the drinks and everything. So really, let's give them a round of applause. With that said, this event is called Intersectionality. Sorry.
Intentional.
Intentional. It's right on your programs. And as I said, it's part of the Lambda LitFest LA, which is LA's only LGBTQ literary festival. LitFest is produced by Lambda Literary, a national organization dedicated to nurturing and advocating for LGBTQ writers through programs like an Emerging Writers Retreat and the Lammy Book Awards. This is also the third year we're doing LitFest, so you may have been to other LitFest programs in the past. And if you have, thank you for coming back. Now, and this is the third year, we gather LGBTQ and allied readers and writers to showcase the range of our talent and build community. This year's festival includes over 40 literary free events, just like this one, and culminates with our main day event on Saturday, September 28th at the Pico Union Project, and features writers and performers including Tegan and Sarah, Dan S. Smith, Tommy Pico, and much more. So as I said, you can pick up a program. There's some on the back table there, some on the front table. You can also go online to find out more about the festival and to see the schedule. We're nearing the end. Saturday's the last day, but there will be stuff tomorrow as well. At lambdalitfest.org, you can go there for more information. We also want to thank the Armory, who is letting us use this space. So say thank you to them, meet people, do the usual community building stuff. And finally, please follow us on Instagram or Twitter at Lambda LitFest and use the hashtag Lambda LitFest 2019 to share your photos. Thank you all so much for being here, and we really hope you enjoy this panel. With that, I'm going to introduce Sakae Manning, who's going to tell you a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Dan's our ambassador. So we call him Ambassador Dan. So first of all, I'm just going to do a really quick thing because these types of events create relationships, friendships, and future partnerships. And the reason I say that is because in 2017, I was the Annenberg Community Beach House Writer in Residence. And during that residency, I met a lot of very cool people. And I did programming around women writers of color. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm really good with food. I'm just not so good when I was we did 3 programs, and one of those programs included Rachelle Yousuf. And she and I became friends as a result of that. And Cody and I became friends when we did a meetup group that he leads. But what was really interesting when we had this last event where people actually got up and talked, we call them community change makers, got up and spoke and talked about what they do, whether it was Women Who Submit, whether it was Cody's writing group, or the fact that he edits an LA writer anthology. All of a sudden people started talking. And Cody said, why can't we do this again? And he started spinning. Well, then we go to AWP, which is the big writer conference up in Portland this last year. And we were drinking, and we decided we would do this. And that's why the title is so intentionally difficult to pronounce. Because when you do intersectional work, sometimes it is tough work. It's hard work. It means you have to leave your comfort zone and go into another room. And we're not always prepared or confident enough to do that. And especially writers, we tend to be, we're not the most outgoing people as a rule. So there's someone said to me, I think it was Leslie, said something about 15,000 people, 15,000 introverts in a conference center. And so I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what it's like. So what happened was we started talking, and with the encouragement of our ambassador, we came up with this program. Because we truly believe community is built with intention. It just doesn't happen by accident, because we just talk to the same people, we do the same routine. You have to really make an effort to go talk to somebody new. And I think Hank does a wonderful job of that at the end of his program every month of Homocentric, when he says, at the very end, Look at someone you don't know and say hello and make a friend. And then he tells us to go make art. And if that is just like pretty much says it all. And so from what happened in Annenberg, this came. And from tonight, we hope that you come up with some of your own types of intentional intersections and movement. And you go out and you create, whatever that is. It could be a reading series. It could be being a part of a group that you create that's just for writers in your community who then hack it up and cross the freeway. That's the big thing in LA, right? Crossing the freeway. It's like, oh my God, it's on the west side? I don't know. It's a Dodger game. So that's what happens. So tonight, we're gonna hopefully bring to you the type of inspiration that we've received at other programs we've gone to. And because of great partners like the Armory, like people who are anonymous, who have contributed, we're able to bring this together. And we thank Lambda and Lambda LitFest for putting an overall umbrella around this so we could do this. So with that, I'm going to now turn it over to your two amazing, these are the best co-producers ever, and friends. Turn it over to Cody and Rachelle.
Thank you, Sakae. It's been a lot of fun to put this together. I'm really gratified that so many people showed up to listen to our amazing readers. Who you'll hear from after I get through a few of our intentions for the evening and also a few logistics. When Sakae and Rachelle and I got together and learned of the theme for Lambda LitFest, which is all the feelings, I had a pretty visceral negative reaction right away. And we decided, actually when we're planning this event, what we want to do is start with, what do we think the literary scene in LA needs? And we very, very quickly got to a point where we're like, we want to highlight the works of queer writers of color who don't get enough opportunities to be heard. And so that's why we're here tonight. More than that, though, we wanted to hear them, but we also wanted to continue the discussion that Sakae had started at the Annenberg School, and that happens every day in places around LA, which is how do we make the scene, how do we make the industry more inclusive, how do we get more equity and make more representation happen? And so that's what we're all together going to be talking about this evening. While the focus is publishing, we know that the issues and the challenges extend beyond there. We're facing issues around economics, culture, politics, and interpersonal relationships, and all of these are intertwining. So if during the discussion you feel like your head's spinning, that's probably because the world's complicated. And we're here to try to figure out what do we do in that complicated situation. The discussion we're approaching with openness and a sense of discovery for where it takes us. When we started planning this, we made sure that we spoke with each of our writers and panelists, and asked them, what do you want from the evening? So everything that comes forth from this point on is with their intentions, with their power manifested. And we want people to take away to have practical takeaways. So if you go out to the community table in the front, there's information from a lot of different organizations where you can learn about submitting to literary publications and about how to just navigate this scene. I want to share one little tidbit. So in terms of small actions leading to interesting outcomes, Lambda LitFest pretty early on, after we got approval for our event, said, hey, we need the accessibility policy for the venue. And we said, okay, we'll ask the Armory, who then got back to us and said, you know what, we've been working on updating this for a while, and now, our butts are in the fire, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna get it done. And they had it done within a week. And so if you go to their website now, you can see all of the very detailed information about accessibility, and that's there now because this event helped make it happen, and because they were like, yeah, we're ready for this, we want to do it. And so along that same vein, we're super excited and gratified to also have ASL interpretation here tonight for any of our audience. For any of our audience who is here and who may watch this later. So a few logistics now. This is a safe space. We intend for this space to be owned by the readers and panelists who are here. We want to honor them. We want to make sure that they are heard And we invite disagreement, but disagreement should be brought forth with the appropriate amount of respect. And Rachelle and I will be, policing that. It's a lot of responsibility. Another thing, we want to be transparent about the financials behind this event. This event mainly came about through our volunteered labor via an anonymous literary angel and through the support of poets and writers. Each of our writers and panelists who are here tonight are going home with $200. And we think it's hard to be a poet, it's hard to be a writer. There's not enough financial support out there, and we're committed to making sure that when the community gathers, that writers are supported. So that's part of what we've made happen tonight. We are recording, so we're video recording our readers and the interpretation tonight. When we break in the middle to transition to discussion, we will stop the video recording and then we will resume audio recording. During the discussion, we invite everyone to participate. Please, if you're willing, identify yourself, identify your affiliation so that people listening can hear. And I'll be wandering around really awkwardly with a microphone to make sure that that happens. And the final thing I'll say is that, during the discussion, our facilitation approach is going to be as light-handed as possible. We're sure you all have a lot to say, and we are not going to step in unless there seems to be, a lull and people are tongue-tied. So just keep that in mind. We're here to help. We're also here to listen. And with that, it's time to hear from Rachelle Yousuf. Working with Rachelle on this event has been fantastic. She is insightful, responsive, compassionate, and she gets shit done. She is the current national president of the Women's National Book Association and the former president of Women's National Book Association Los Angeles. There's some organizational dynamics there. She is also a literary event producer working with Y'all West and the LA branch of the Freya Project. Previously, she has worked as the head of membership at Penn Center USA, a literary arts and human rights nonprofit. Rachelle holds a master's in English literature from California State University, Northridge. Please welcome Rachelle.
Hello, everyone. All right, I'm going to keep this brief, I promise, but we just wanted to say a few thank yous. First, of course, to Lambda for providing the platform for this event to happen. To the Armory for donating this space, which, believe me, if they had not, would not have taken place here. To Dot's Cupcakes, they donated their cupcakes. If you haven't had them, they're excellent. They're also a Pasadena local, as well as owned and operated by a woman of color. So, wow. And as Cody mentioned, thank you to Poets and Writers for their honorarium, I guess, as well as to our anonymous donor for providing the rest of the money. Thank you to BookSwell for their media support, as well as to our ASL interpreters, Angele Robertson and Diamond DeRusso. And I want to say a personal thank you to Sakae and Cody for being the best co-producers I could have ever asked for. And also to our writers and artists and panelists who are joining us today. Thank you for trusting us with your words and for taking the time to meet with us. I was telling Roxana that I'm super I don't like talking in public. I'm super nervous, but the fact that we met with all of them beforehand and talked to them made me feel a little sense of comfort coming here. So thank you to you all for taking the time to meet with us. So with that being said, I did want to mention the PCC students are here. They are doing a story and taking some pictures for us. So if you see someone scribbling and taking pictures, they're over there. Which we're thrilled. They're students doing a story on this event, and I couldn't be happier to have them with us. So. All right, so we're gonna get started with B.A. Williams. I'm gonna pull up for a little bio here. Okay. B.A. Williams is a queer writer and performer from East Long Beach, California. She holds an MFA in creative writing and is currently working on a novel-length manuscript and poetry collection. When she isn't writing or performing, she's developing a platform which seeks to uplift communities of color, redefine otherness, and distribute intersectionality with various modes of art. B.A. co-curates and hosts Unfadable, a requiem of Sandra Bland, and is the content manager for Love by Her, a digital storytelling platform that showcases and celebrates Black queer love. Her poetry and prose focuses on all things other with a heavy emphasis on Blackness, womanhood, and queerness. Please welcome B.A.
How's everybody doing? Alright, so bear with me. I'm gonna read some heavy shit tonight. Excuse my language. But yeah, I'm a Black queer woman in America, so there we go. Alright, so this first piece is called If a Tree Falls in a Forest, after Kara Walker's Salvation. Inside me, my children scream, their hands sculpt a model of me, their version, a mother, but I know my body will never be marble finished, preserved for a hungry mouth. Screams become laughter, the curls of their tongues, their swollen gums, all that pink. Holes so new but vengeful, swallowing before, during, and after. My children become trees, vast, so green, a new color. The trees grow. My body tethered to its limitations. I cannot become home. I cannot become a forest. The walls crumble like brittle earth. My apartment becomes a forest. I am bleeding dirt, so I run from the apartment. I mean the forest, away from the children. I mean the trees. Eat the sun. All I want is the heat. The children, I mean the trees. Stop laughing. Everything is screaming. Is this hell? A bottle grows from the soil of my palm. My lifeline makes for a sturdy shape, short and wide. I suck the nipple. Gin trickles down my throat, but I want a flood. I hold on until my hands grow into stone. The bottle is a rock. My throat hoards the pebbled gin. My soul catches fire. The trees are laughing. I mean the children. I mean the children. I mean the children. I mean the children. The trees are screaming. I mean the children. I mean the children. I mean the children. I mean the children. The trees keep growing. I mean the children, I mean the children, I mean the children, the sun, oh the sun, the children, is this hell? My legs are marble, the children, I mean the trees are screaming, I mean the children, I mean the trees, I mean the children fall, I mean the forest, I mean my home, I mean the home, I mean my body, I mean my forest, I mean the home, I mean the body, I mean my trees, I mean the children, my trees fall, I am disappearing, I am burning, I hear nothing. This piece, it's a shorter piece, it's called Growing Pains. They say when your baby is growing a head full of hair, you get heartburn real bad. So bad you think the devil found a way up inside you. I cut all my hair and watch the dead parts of me crowd around my feet. When my grandma looks at me, the world appears in her pupils, and still she rubs her chest. This piece is called 7 Layers of Hell, after Sierra de Mulder. 1. In this room, my grandmother and a man I barely know fuck while I toss my bad dreams into the flames. My eyes closed, my palm open, their sweat jumps into my 5-year-old palm. I clench my fist. 2. In this room, I write a poem. It's good because it's true. The white people believe it's true. They swarm me like bees. I become their queen. I stab my stomach. The blood and the babies are red. The blood and the babies are mine. The blood and the babies they see. I am seen. The poem burns. 3. In this room, Macy Gray aborts babies even after Tyler Perry says cut. 4. In this room, the baby I have never cries. 5. In this room, we stop having sex because I cut my clit in fifths, a piece for every person I ever loved, and I don't give you a piece. 6. In this room, I drink 5/5 of whiskey without poisoning my body. That's my superpower. Up, up, and away. 7. In this room, an older cousin finds herself in my crib. I am 3 or 4 or 5, too young to come or know my body, but I do. It feels good. Her weight. I want to tell her I like it and I hate her and I hate that. This is called Diagnosed. I done loved the bruised blackberry more than the plum of my cheek. I done smiled at my man even when his mind wanders to a lover lighter than me. His tongue is black as the back of my neck 'cause it's tired of holding his lies and me. After he done, I scrub, I bleed, I sleep, my body ache like a fiend without. How you learn to say I love you and mean it? 'Cause I can't form the sentence. I done loved around babies more tender than neck bones, but the way they run from me, I know I ain't seasoned them the same. Pain feel like a smile when the heat of it rides in my belly. I know the sun and God rest in me. I throws the oil, but I don't see God in the mirror. I look pregnant. The doctors say a watermelon-sized tumor is growing in my belly, sitting on my uterus, and I wonder real hard if this white man called this cancer a watermelon so I could know the taste. And then I'll finish with this one. It's called, I got two. I'll just read one. It's called Self-Hate. 4 a.m, a white woman crosses my mind. I don't want her to be white. In my mind, I need her to be black. So black, her skin blends in my burgundy sheets. So black, only shea butter prevents the white ash from spreading. So black when I'm with her. Her steps, her breath, her fear is mine. But she is white, and she loves me, and I hate her. In my bed, in my home, in my poems, in my sister's line of sight, in my grandma's expectations, in my mother's guilt, but I still ring her, and I stay on the line, though the trill in my ear is wheezing and screaming from sour bodies and scoured faith, rocking and swaying in foreign waters, but she answers, and her voice is the wind snapping at the sails. We are still afloat. Before the words escape my body, she knows the time it takes to kill the little black girl's body that dreams of her. Thank you.
Up next, we have Evan Kleekamp. Evan lives in Los Angeles, where they founded Noor Research Studio. With Kim Calder, they directed Les Fig Press from September 2017 until July 2019. Evan has performed, lectured, and given talks at Cal Arts, Otis College, the School of the Art Institute in Chicago, the Poetic Research Bureau, and Columbia College Chicago. They are the author of 2 chapbooks, 13 Theses on State-Sponsored Black Death in America, and Once Upon a Time, I Was Michael Thomas Tarrant. Evan is currently editing an artist monograph and writing a novel. Please welcome Evan Kleekamp.
I usually don't like introducing work, but I feel with this piece it's kind of necessary. So I'll say a few things and then I'll just get inside of it. So this is a book I've been working on for 2 years that I keep changing, and I keep changing it because I keep changing the subject, meaning the person. But typically it's been about painting or painters. And so it begins with all these stipulations that happen at the beginning of the book, but we're somewhere in the middle. So stipulation 3, an account in which the letter K refers to any number of non-biological women, and no single non-biological woman at a given time. Kay dreamt she entered the iceberg again, marked her calendar, which suggested this was the 8th time. But why had the dream fit so cleanly into 3 sections with each iteration? To think all those years ago, it had started as a suicide note she wrote to a long-deceased Franz, and then grown into a volume in which her desires, until recently latent, metastasized. The paragraphs appeared in a flash, disappeared before she could write them down. That part wasn't unusual. And when she woke, Ruth, the cat, stepping across the pillow above her head, gazed at her curiously. Kay got up from the bed and went to her desk. She found her notebook and wrote, "If a civilization dies, check the temperature of its art." She got up from the desk and went into the kitchen, where she opened a can of wet food and distributed 1/3 of its contents into the glass Tupperware container she had cleaned the night before. She reached into the refrigerator, grabbed a string cheese, the iced coffee, a LaCroix, and then packed some sativa into her glass pipe. She smoked, consumed her breakfast, read the news, showered, then left for work around 8:45 a.m. During the drive, Kay decided she would refer to the documents she produced while writing her novella as paperworks and exhibit them someday. Arriving at the cafe she liked to visit before meeting with her client, Kay ordered a cappuccino and shared this idea with Matthew in Chicago because she owed her, Matthew, an email. 2, Kay had written, the possibility that her defenses had nothing to do with the crises that defined her current emotional state. 2, the possibility that scrutinizing the past would not necessarily make her feelings go away, that it might make them more intense, visible, and sadly, categorical. 2, she had written that she was too lazy to love her mother anymore. 2, that this thing we call capitalism actually makes art more interesting, given the number of people who suffer in its name. That capitalism might just be a euphemism for this ongoing state of the world. 2, that these intimations might have some understitching that fortifies and clusters them in her mind. 2, that abandoning the emancipatory politics her mother had always espoused might free her from the malaise she now experienced. Reviewing her email, she returned to the phrase emancipatory politics and placed it within quotes. Then she thought about the first sentence in the trial. Someone must have been telling lies about Joseph K., which for whatever reason felt relevant to her. She finished her drink and then left the cafe. If she had access to a scale, she could have weighed herself and discovered she had lost about 10 pounds, which may have allowed her to feel triumphant. It was August, and the sunlight in Los Angeles made the dust in the air glitter, sometimes refract. One sentence she had written to Matthew stayed in her mind as she walked up the driveway to work. Our addictions don't bother us until they are no longer satiable. She opened, entered, then closed the front door, putting the beginning of her day behind her. Just like that, letting herself become a man for her client, for the animals and the people in the house who addressed her by that name. Later, the image in question, the image she carried around in her head, her self-image seemed to change, remained unfixed within its frame, its various subplots like a rotating choir, taking different positions within the picture plane in accordance with her mood. To discount the visual reference made within these images would be to ignore its capacity, would be to ignore the capacity to explicate Kay thought, where language can only suggest, indicate, nudge, cipher. She thought about Quaitman, who had introduced this problem to her. Kay had seen a painting Quaitman had made in which a woman, as if asleep, unknowingly reaches toward the viewer. When Kay got close to the image, wanting to see it better, she saw the diamond dust Quaitman had sprinkled over the figure's body, as well as the yellow lines Quaitman had silkscreened over the panel, after she had covered it first, no doubt, with indigo gesso. During the talk Quaitman gave on the subject of this work and the series which she called chapters, to which the work belonged, the painter had commented that she derived pleasure from painting these figures with their eyes closed, a deviation she introduced into the works when she repainted the originals. Quaitman commented, too, that she had to remind herself that applying gesso was a way of painting, that all painting need not be done for the image to result in the mobile, rectangular format custom refers to as a painting. So for Kay, in addition to the image and its correspondence with words, it was a matter of seeing the sentences form and the actions that dispatched them. Applying the sentence as one applies paint, layer after layer, sometimes atop a printed image, a ready-made, to get the sentence to resemble an application process, Kay thought, in which the layers can be said to approach being flat, sometimes congealing with the materials that touched above and below, not just physically, but referentially as well. Meaning they would have to point outward, but also inward, because Kay, like Quaitman, didn't want to give all the attention away to one thing, to make one thing the subject of her thoughts. But she couldn't risk inattention, which meant they had to be applied in predetermined sequence, unless the chemical bonds between the layers were to come into inappropriate contact, dissolve each other. It was not a process that Kay understood when these questions first arose, and by no means was Kay any clearer on the subject when she settled deep into the second sprint of her research, which following the first sprint, prosthesis, she decided to organize around heterogeneity, indicating in some small way, at least to herself, that a prosthetic relationship was not one between two parts, but between components subject to further atomizing. If not now, then in the future, Kay thought, which was reassuring because most things from the past were well on their way into dust and could, given Quaitman's gestural proposition, be set right back on top of the mixture as if it were a bare and complete canvas once again. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to Reuben Hayslett. Reuben T. Hayslett is a queer activist, writer, and storyteller and current resident of Long Beach, California. His first fiction short story collection, Dark Corners, debuted in 2019 through Running Wild Press. Dark Corners received a star rating by Kirkus and was recently included in the swag bag for George Lopez's celebrity golf tournament. He currently works at Demand Progress, leading online campaigns against the overreach of government surveillance, and is a lead training associate with the Oakland-based Center for Story-Based Strategy. Please welcome Cody.
Thank you everyone for coming. Also, a real quick reminder that many of us are selling our books after this. So I'm going to read a short excerpt, just the beginning of this story from my collection. If you're curious to see how it ends, the book is on sale. And I also normally don't like to give a lot of preamble about the story. So the title is called I Want You. That first year, the clinic told me to pick a time, an easy time that I wouldn't forget, and take the pills then. Every day like that, for the rest of my life. HIV is really good for clearing out your schedule, especially that first year. Guys don't call, or they don't know, and then they find out, and then they don't call. My mother called, almost 4 times a day. Did you take your meds? She'd ask. Yes, Mom. Maybe you should take one again, just in case. Mom, it doesn't work like that. I know, and then she breathed long into the phone receiver, but maybe you should, anyway. Over time, retroviral medication tightens facial muscles. I get away with it because I'm Asian. My eyes already look tight at the ends. The meds smooth my forehead lines, and I swear to God, stomp what little facial hair growth I had down to a slow crawl. Today, I look younger than I did when I contracted. It's a damn shame. I used to take my pills at night, right before bed. Not like there was much to do in my bed anyway. Right around 11, I'd throw down the white and brown capsules, chug some water, and drift off. I used to dream crazy adventures, flying, theme park rides, vampires with cheekbones sharp enough to cut you. Now I dream about holding hands with a guy who likes me. I dream about eating ice cream with someone. The sun beats down on us and it's a rush to finish our cups before the whole thing melts. My dreams are fucking eHarmony commercials. I've been positive for 5 years. They make iPhone apps for it now. 11 o'clock and my phone would buzz. I pick the Uncle Sam icon and he shakes his big index finger at me. I want you to take your pills. It seemed funny at the time. A Thursday after work, I'm with my coworker Wendy, who is single, turning 30, and has never been to a gay bar. I can't talk my way out of it, and now we're screaming at each other over the thudding bass. She gets jostled by Gym Bunny clicks, and I'm getting groped a couple of times by drunk twink kids. A skinny Asian is like Pez candy for them. Scream to the bartender for the 3rd time. Wendy's loose after 2 vodka tonics and sets me up on a standing table on the outside patio so she could play matchmaker for me. My phone buzzes in the middle of some investment banker telling me about his trip to Fiji. It's supposed to win me over that he's okay with the rice. When I flip my phone open, Uncle Sam's staring back at me. I excuse myself to the bathroom. I shuffled through my messenger bag twice before I realized that since I wasn't planning on coming out tonight, my pills are at home, next to my toothpaste and an empty cup for water. Wendy, I gotta go. No, Wendy's passed loose and into full-on drunk. Do you need a ride, the investment banker says, or I can call a cab? No, stay here, Wendy says, tugging on my shirt and then leaning her weight on it. She almost pops a button and the banker takes an eye shot at my chest. Let me give you a ride, he says. You might need help with her. I want to stay, Wendy huffs. She leans back and crosses her arms over her chest, but she overdoes it and knocks a couple of drinks off the table behind her. Bitchy queens narrow their eyes at her. Come on, says the banker. In 5 years, I've never not taken my pill on time. Not that I don't think about it. I was that kind of kid who would do exactly what I was told not to do, just to see if the world would really end like every adult made it out to be. Go figure. We brought Wendy in the back seat of the banker's black sedan, and then I clipped myself into the shotgun seat. Uncle Sam wants me again, buzzing loud. The banker starts the car. That's not an ex-boyfriend, is it? Not entirely. I feed a button to Uncle Sam so he'll shut up and then tell the banker to head south towards my apartment. Wendy obliterates some pop song lyrics for a verse and a chorus and then falls asleep. The banker says, I'm glad I met you tonight, and I just nod. It's 11:13. Do Do you go out often, he says. I don't, not usually. Yeah, me neither. My right leg starts jackhammering and I stare at the clock on the dashboard. The banker notices and takes his free hand to my knee to settle me, and it's the first time a man's actually touched me in years. I can feel the weight and heat from his hand, and for a second I can almost remember what it feels like to be with a man. When I glance at him, his face is blushed red. The banker's lips creep a tight smile and he parts them, about to say something, when Wendy's belch from the backseat turns into projectile vomit. I get splashed on the back of my neck and it trickles down my back. Then Wendy starts to cry. We pull over into a gas station. It's 11:17. Uncle Sam's buzzing again and Wendy's into a full-on wail. The banker rushes to get paper towels and I peel myself out of the seat to get away from the smell. Night air chills my wet shirt and I'm shivering. He comes to me with the towel first, rubs my neck, pats down my back. Look, I start to tell him, no, it's okay. He says these things happen. It's 11:20. I can't catch my breath. My stomach feels bottomed out and I'm dizzy. This isn't a med reaction. This is what happened 5 years ago in the clinic. What happened 2 months later when I had to tell my mom. My phone buzzes. I want you. Thank you.
Just remark to Rachelle and Sakae, we have such a variety of voices tonight. I'm super stoked that we can get very serious, we can have fun, we can be in pain, we can be joyful. So thank you. We're going to hear from Roxana Preciado next. Yeah. Some of you may have been at the Lambda LitFest event, Homocentric, on Tuesday, where Roxana read, and it's a delight. There's actually not too much of Roxana that one can hear. Roxana Preciado is an indie author and artist recognized for her work as a poet and activist. Sorry, I wanted to add, I also got teary-eyed on Tuesday, so just prepare. If you're sensitive at all, prepare. Born in Jalisco, Mexico, she migrated to the US at 4 years old and has been writing poetry since the age of 12. She has recently released 3 books of poetry, with the most recent being Hood Educated. Preciado uses poetry and her story to support community engagement and activism around DACA, and as a survivor, to raise awareness about violence against women. She often speaks to Latinx and LGBTQ+ youth to help them find their own voice and tell their stories. Preciado is completing her graduate degree while continuing advocacy work for her various communities. She currently resides in Los Angeles, California, with her wife and son. Please welcome Roxana.
Hi everyone. So I'm really nervous, so if I shake, I pass out. It should be exciting. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself, because my books, they're more of a journal than they are traditional poetry. That's not my field, and writing. But I really, I think it's important for people from my various communities to tell their truth and speak their stories. And so once I came out of where I came from, I felt it was my responsibility to tell my story, and in doing that, maybe hopefully encourage my community to do the same. Okay, my name is Roxana Preciado, and who am I? I am many things. I am a Mexican immigrant born in Jalisco, Mexico, and raised in California. I am a former DACA student, still a dreamer. I am a fighter, abused as a child and then in adulthood, too many times a survivor. I am a former throwaway homeless youth. En mi casa no hay lesbianas, Roxana, is what my mother said to me at the age of 16 when she threw me out into the LA streets. I am plagued with anxiety, my insecurities. I am a flawed human being. I am an honest human being. I am strong, vulnerable. I am resilient. I am completing my 3rd college degree, from poverty to universities. I am a wife to a badass mujer. I am a mother to a kind little boy. He is kind and giving to others. I am a proud mother. I am not alone anymore. I finally have a family and a home. I am safe now. I fight for others. I am constantly terrified, but I speak my truth regardless. I am brave, but I struggle. Sadly, I am no different than many others. Our story is common and currently tragically on repeat. Today, I will read pieces on what makes me, me. For those of you who can relate to me, you are not alone, and trust me, I get it. It hurts. I know. And for all others, thank you in advance for listening. This is my, their, our story. This is homemade tortillas. Unacceptable language expressions, grammatically, bilingually incorrect. Don't say me, say I instead. Mujer, ya cállate. Your words are offending the English language. Mexican immigrant, child arrival. Ya llegamos, I am here. Mexico to America, we to I, ESL, English as a second language. Public schools, hood educated. I will never be able to master the English or Spanish language. Forever, at a loss for words. What is this language I think and speak in then? Could it be a third language? One developed out of survival instinct. Those who can't speak, don't eat. Soy humana. Yo bebo, yo como, y todavía tengo hambre. This hunger for knowledge has led me to college. There, I found a passion for collecting. In my possession are a compilation of English words on paper, and in the center are Spanish words. My name on display. Like me, bilingual are my 3 college degrees. Unacceptable language expressions. You say I'm uneducated. From homeless struggles to universities, I'm more than educated. I know better. You all won't silence me. Thank you. This is the irony of an immigrant. And I wrote this in grad school as I was reading all about my community in those books, you know. And I'm sitting in class and I'm tearing up and my peers are looking at me like, what a weirdo. The irony of an immigrant. Irony. Lower socioeconomic status. A fancy long word to basically say broke as fuck and struggling. Back then, those words felt like a self-inflicted dagger wound as they came out of my mouth. The irony of writing a college paper on poverty when I had no place to stay, no dinner plans, breakfast was all I had to eat for the day. Irony. Homeless has many definitions depending on who speaks. If you ask me, I will tell you, it is dehumanizing misery. I once passed out in the middle of the street, walking dehydrated, hungry on my way to work, homeless, employed adolescent. Irony. Immigrant on survival mode, can't spell in my native language, can barely read in Spanish, child arrival, dreamer, immigrant. I grew up learning American history. I knew little to nothing about my country or people's history. But I could recite all 50 American states and their capitals, hand over heart as a child, the American flag I would serenade. Irony. No soy americana. No soy una buena mexicana. Stuck between 2 countries and all I do is wonder who the hell I am when my identity has been stripped from me. Irony. In my heart, feeling that I belong to 2 countries, have 2 homes, yet I'm left to feel unwelcome and homeless for what seems like eternity. Irony. Thank you. I debated whether or not I should read this piece. This is new. I'm working on my 4th book right now. And this is a reflection on some of the news and what it's doing to my community. And for those of you people of color, and even just those in touch with your humanity, reading the news. It's re-triggering, and it's hard for us to get up. At least continue and keep our dignity when we see our children being treated like this. This is called children at play. Society is plagued, hate epidemic. The fallen politely said, another child's dead. Caged and afraid, while those in power continue playing children's games. Tantrum displays. I'm angry and afraid. I hold my child tight and pray for better days. Collateral damage, the fallen. Caution, children are at play. This is I Love Brown Babies. That's for my son. I love brown babies. I love their soulful brown eyes. They wear their cherries. Start over. I love brown babies. I love their soulful brown eyes. They wear their various shades of brown like armor. Their powerful cries fill me with pride. Descendants of brilliant architects, like a miracle, my people walked on water. Descendants of farmers, my people and their land nourished each other. Descendants of warriors, my people are survivors and by instinct are resilient. I love brown babies. So many unsaid truths embedded in a single line. I love my brown son, and I will teach him to love his brown skin and brilliant mind alike. Thank you. I'm closing it off with a summary of my story. For those of you who have heard me speak before, you're probably like, not again. But it's just the quickest way to tell my story. I'm a proud survivor of many things, like a lot of people of color, unfortunately. And this just kind of hits a lot of it. I've been on my own since the age of 16, homeless, and finished school, managed being undocumented, and managed to finish college and do all that. Recently, about 4 years ago, I became a legal resident, and this last April, a citizen, and my whole life changed. And now it's up to me to, and people like me, to try to help my community now that I'm safe. Graduated from a coke addict. They said to me, you will fail. Girls like you don't make it out of the hood. Okay. Today I am not just alive, but living. My smile is genuine. I am no longer lying for them. My authentic self, just me. I am finally free. A sigh of relief. Fuck all those who plotted against me. At the age of 16, I'm trying, guys, I'm trying. At the age of 16, the whole world gave up on me. They doubted me. They drove me to madness, delusional. They made me believing I can do things others fear and don't attempt. Statistics, I laugh at them. A life constructed with a series of obstacles, a video game with no instructions on how to play. You learn to appreciate the simplest of things when you have lost everything. 16-year-old homeless addict, I was shown the door and told there's no gays in my family. They said I was a failure. I failed to kill myself. Turns out, they were right. I am a failure because I survived. With no family or a home, I alone, brick by brick, raw, sweaty palms, all the while fighting my inner thoughts. I pushed, I shoved until one day I had more than a shelter. I built myself a home. Undocumented, imported goods. I was raised in the hood. Ghetto girl, washed up, used up, there's no hope for a teenage addict. Flash forward to today, bachelor's degree in hand, now graduate school. Not bad for a coke addict. Despite what they all thought about me, said about me, attempted to break every part about me, I pushed, I shoved, I cried, I fought my way up until one day I was able to breathe again, feel good again, forgive, and let go of all of them. Because today, I no longer have to survive. Today, I am healed. I am whole. No more secrets, naked tongue. I can finally speak to them, say to them, thank you for doubting me. Your doubt fueled me. I am thriving. You underestimated me. You were all so fucking wrong about me. Thank you.